You've got to this point now and you've got a layout that you're happy with. You might have even copied that layout over onto a couple of other pages, and now you're at the point where you're starting to think about putting in a unified theme and background onto each page, something that's going to make your portfolio look a little bit more professional, but also something that's going to make it connect to your practical project. So in the Pages panel, which if you don't have it, you can go to Window, Pages, or hit Command F12, you'll see here that we've got all of the pages in our slides, in our booklet, and if we go and we create more, we can see that we've inserted some pages in there. We can go and drag those to whatever order we want them to be. So let's just drag them down in between even, and it'll split everything up. Okay, so we can make it so that they have a defined theme that sits on every page with master pages in InDesign. So we've used master pages before in Adobe Muse to set up some backgrounds for our websites, things like toolbars and that sort of thing. In InDesign, they work exactly the same way. So if you click on a master page or you double click on it, you get here we've got a double page spread that's going to open up. So with this, we can go in and we can add whatever we like. So we could go, I've got a logo that I want to stick on every page that I've made, maybe, the Clancy College logo, and I'll put that in the corner of each page. So I'll put it there, and that's going to appear on every left page. And then I'm going to copy that across so it appears on every page. I'm going to change the opacity of that. So the opacity control is just up here. So I'm going to pull that down a little bit because I don't want it to be too obvious. I'm also going to put a header and a footer page. So I might want to put there, who it's by. So for us, we'd be like, we're not supposed to put our names for the HSC, so I would go student number 17538842, or whatever it is that your student number is. So I could go in there, I could change my font. Remember, we want to be using size 12 of either Times New Roman or a similar font, so just basically a standard font. If we're using Times New Roman, it's easy to read, which is possibly the idea why they want us to use it. But remember, size 12 is so we can get to the 80 pages and nobody's putting any extra information in. So what I did just then is I double clicked in a corner, and what that does is it changes the text box to just the size of your text. So it does that automatically, so you don't have to sort of mess around. I'm going to put that in the corner of each page, and I can zoom out a little bit to make sure that I'm happy with it. I'm going to change the opacity on that again, just because it's a footer. I can go in and I can say whatever the name of my project is. So maybe I've got that there. And once again, if it's too big, we can double click and it'll conform to that, just so I can get my layout right. I'm going to turn back on by hitting Command and semicolon onto my edge there, and I'm going to link that so it sits right at the bottom of there and there, just so we have unified edges to our pages. I'm also going to make sure that this one sits in line with this, just so we know for sure that it's always going to be print safe and it's never going to run off the edge. Okay, so I've got that going there. I will put in a page number that automatically links up, but we'll do that in the next lesson. And maybe I want to have some sort of, colorful border. So in that case, I can go in and draw a rectangle over this edge here. Obviously, we don't want to use up too much of the actual page space because then we start running out of room. But I could go and pick red. We could change that so it goes down quite low. And then I'm going to do Command Shift and the bracket underneath the minus sign to send it to the back. Or I could go arrange send to back here, and then the picture will come to the front. We've come up with an issue already, which is that the logo is white, so maybe for the sake of this we'll move it to the front. You could take that logo and move it into Photoshop and remove the background, save it out as a PSD file or a PNG, and then it'll have that clear background to it, and you won't have to worry about that. You could also, of course, draw up a more interesting picture in Photoshop or Illustrator and then just copy and paste that across, or save it out as a JPEG or a PNG again and then place it into the file. If we want to do a horizontal border, it's simply a matter of drawing in the horizontal border. We can go in with the eyedropper tool, I'm pretty sure. No, different in InDesign, but that's okay. Not all of the items do the same thing in every program, so that's good that I've learned something new today, but it was basically a standard red at 36%, so I could just save some time by typing it in, and we've got something that works. Obviously, if you've got opaque colors and they overlap, they're going to stack on top of each other, so you want to go in and make sure everything's okay with that. So if I do an overprint preview, I can see that that's probably what it's going to look like, which brings to light an issue, which is that you've got that white background there with the see-through thing. So you'll notice a difference that will become a problem when you actually print it out. So it's always good to do something like that. In the meantime, I've decided that I want my red line just to go there, and I want to as well maybe just put a line in of roughly the same color. You know, it doesn't really matter for this tutorial video anyway. If I do the standard eyedropper, then I've got my red there. I can switch it around to be that, put the thickness up a little bit more, and then we've got something that kind of works a little bit. So what this eyedropper here that I used before is a color theme tool, and if you eyedrop a particular color, it gives you a whole bunch of colors that will work with it, which I think is actually a really nice touch, and might help you to plan your colors. So you can go all through that. You can switch it then into Adobe Color, which is an external application which works pretty well, and it might be something that might help you if you're having trouble with color themes for your desktop publishing needs. So I've got this here. I'm happy with the way that it looks for now, and it will, I'll take this and I'll put this down the bottom because we want this as well. Okay. Option click. Option click allows you to not have to copy and paste anything. So then any page that I've got my stuff in now has this same theme to it. I would go in then and I would say, okay, my old design from the previous video no longer works. So what I need to do is I need to pull this down slightly. I need to maybe pull this down a little bit, push this image here, which then means for the sake of things, I probably want to pull this down a little bit. Go with that. And I also want to change the bottom of it slightly, just to make sure that everything has a little bit of room. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with that. I also might put my heading in here. I could change the size of it or do whatever I need to do with that, and then I click in there, and I've got something that once again is repeatable and looks pretty okay. If I wanted to do a different master page, so if I didn't want this to be on every page, this background, I could go in and go new master, and I could say, let's copy everything here and paste it all into here, make sure it lines up, and I might want to change this for whatever reason to, I don't know, a green. Maybe for a different section of the portfolio or something, you might want to change that, in which case, now all I need to do is if I right click and I go, what do I want to do? You want to apply the B master to the different pages. So if I go then that I want to apply master to pages, and I can go in and say all pages if I want to change it, or I could go 6, 7, I could add a comma and put in page 9 if I had page 9, and what'll happen is it will change the master on that page. So this doesn't just have to be with the headings. You could say that you want to have a master page with absolutely nothing on it. So new master, and we'll call this one, instead of saying it's C, we'll call this one front. Let's just call it fro for front, okay? And we can say this one is going to have one page. What I can do now is to a front page, I can say, let's say I want this to be my main page. Instead of it being master B, I can apply this master page to page 1. And then I can work on a page that's different from any other page while still keeping my master pages throughout. I could say apply B master to page 4. And so without having to change anything around, it'll automatically update the pages throughout and give me interesting sort of master pages. Now, it doesn't just have to be headings. I'm fairly sure you can also do layouts. So let me check. If I go new master and I go lay for layout, and you could change the orientation of these to make them go landscape for your time management pages. So let's go in here and see what we've got. So I'm going to put in a new master page for time plan. I'll switch it to that. We'll call it time. And then all of a sudden, if I put in a new page, let's say here, and then I go time master, right click, apply master to pages for 8, 9, then use master page size. Let's see what we got. Yep, and then it will switch to this for the page. So when you print it out and you go through and look at it, or when you save it out as a PDF, it will actually switch size when you scroll down to there, so people won't have to kind of turn the page to look at it. It will just print out properly. Well, they'll still have to look at it if they print it out because you'll bind it along this edge, but if you save it as a digital PDF and someone looks at it, they won't have to turn their head, which might be something that you want to do. Alright, so if I've got then my C master, that's what I was talking about. I was going to see if I could do layouts. So I've got this here, C master page. So I've got all of this here. If I then apply, I've given myself a D master because I was working in the master pages. I could just hit new page and it'll give me a new one. So if I go C master, apply C master to page 10, use master page size so it switches. Okay, so I won't be able to edit it. So that's a good thing to know. You can't put your text boxes that you want to edit on your master pages. They need to stay separately and be pasted into each page. But you can save these as templates, or you can just copy and paste them, and then you'll just be able to move them into the next page by just pasting them in. Okay. So that's about all we need to know about master pages in here. It's a really great way to have a professional looking theme easily, and it's a really good way to identify and change your sections quickly. Thanks for watching.